Kurapika is a character I've had on my mind a lot recently, and looking back at his journey through the Hunter x Hunter anime, I can admit I wasn't blown away at first. Thankfully, that impression of him faded over time and he has become a beloved character of mine. At first, however, I was just confused. I know it's become a bit of a meme at this point, but I genuinely thought Kurapika was a girl. And although the prophecy was fulfilled in the York New City arc, this was an obscure introduction for me to say the least. With that rather shallow anecdote out of the way though, one positive thing I can say about Kurapika's introduction is the payoff once it's all said and done. Once Kurapika passes the exams and obtains his hunter's license, he easily becomes one of the most interesting characters whenever we check back in on him. And this delayed gratification could be quite indicative of Kurapika's character as a whole. The slow burn of the Kurapika-centric plot points end up paying off in some rather big ways. The spiders, the Kurta clan, and a less obvious one maybe, his relationships with Gon, Killua, and Leorio. I would say Kurapika definitely tried to keep some distance from the other main characters, even though he was allying with them at the time. Don't get me wrong, Kurapika definitely had some shonen friendship moments with the other boys in the Hunter exams, but I don't think it's far-fetched to say he was introverted at the least, and perhaps emotionally distant at the max. It was usually one of the other boys who would open up to him first. Pause. And this is what built their friendship up in the first place. Fast forwarding to the York New City arc, for example, we get a very good idea as to why Kurapika was this way with the boys. Kurapika knew what his goal was from the beginning, before he even knew Nen, the seemingly impossible task of killing the spiders, aka the Phantom Troop, aka one of the coldest anime villain groups of all time, as well as reclaiming the Kurta's Scarlet Eyes for himself. And he did not want Gon, Killua, and Leorio to help him for a few reasons, I would say. Number one, and probably most importantly, Kurapika cares about his friends deeply, especially after all the loss he's been through. Obviously, taking on the Phantom Troop is no easy endeavor. Also, number two, he selfishly wants to get revenge on the Phantom Troop, and this strongly suggests Kurapika is ready to get his hands dirty and handle things himself. He desires this violence, hence the cold demeanor towards the boys in the Hunter exams, which blossomed into a friendship. Parallels to Kurapika's reluctancy to accept Gon, Killua, and Leorio's help in York New, but ultimately is persuaded and is rather successful in neutering the head of the spiders, the goat of fiction, Crollo Lucifer, with the help of his best buds. Gon, Killua, and Leorio all played a crucial role in Kurapika's plan, but Kurapika isolates himself yet again. The spider plot point I think is easier to see how it's built up over time, so I won't go as much into depth on that or the Kurta clan, but let me know your thoughts on my first argument. Essentially, Kurapika's slowly developing relationship with Gon, Killua, and Leorio in the Hunter exams is a microcosm for the trajectory of Kurapika's story arc, which will ultimately end in him choosing isolation for himself in the future of the story. One last point tying that argument to the Phantom Troop even more. The solemn revenge he wants on the spiders is pushing him down this ice-lit road, which is literally depicted at the end of York New, and could possibly be even more literally depicted by the end of the story. If at the end of the story, hypothetically, once he's taken all the spiders down for good, he is the last of the boys left standing. Or in other words, Kurapika defeats the Phantom Troop, but Gon, Killua, and Leorio have all died. Or something less drastic, for example, Kurapika gets stuck on the Dark Continent and has no way to get back to his friends. These are all just theories at this point for the end of the story, and I hope you've enjoyed my speculation. If you have, please like, comment, and subscribe. Now let's get right back into it. Like I mentioned earlier, the seeds for the Phantom Troop and Kurta clan were planted early in the Hunter exams. For example, when Kurapika gets PTSD in the tower, and things of that nature. Besides the seemingly slow start for Kurapika in terms of his relevance in the story, I was still intrigued by Kurapika simply because he was older than Gon and Killua. Gon, and especially Killua, had some savage moments in the Hunter exams. Gon stalking Hisoka and stealing his badge was so intense and an underrated moment I don't hear brought up enough, even though that is the start of his journey to become a quote-unquote fighter in the most literal sense of the word. And then the goat Killua one-shotting Johannes in the most savage way possible, and then dumps some insane lore that his dad is so clean he could have killed the enemy even more efficiently. I mentioned all of this to say we get nothing that explosive from Kurapika for a while. I would say the most interesting thing thing we get for a hot minute was his ambiguous relationship with Hisoka, because the Phantom Troop plot point wasn't as accentuated until we met them. But his age difference to Gon and Killua had me automatically presume he was stronger than them at the time, or at least would be in the future, which I'm not so sure that's accurate anymore. Hunter exams Killua might just murder Kurapika, but the assumption that Kurapika was strong, or would be strong, was baked in for me from really early on in the story. Let me know your thoughts on that as well. Did you have a similar assumption when it came to Kurapika's strength in relationship to Gon and Killua based on his seniority? Reaching back to my earlier point about how I was shrugging Kurapika off in the beginning, I don't think I'm overanalyzing Kurapika's moments or lack thereof. I believe this may well have been intentional from the author Togashi to keep Kurapika as mysterious as possible, while Gon and Killua were holding our attention. The Kurapika story seems to build in the background in more subtle ways, quite literally in some cases, because he leaves the main cast for a while after the Killua retrieval arc, but it seems to me at this point Gon's story is more complete than Kurapika's, especially if you go off the anime. Right now, I'm in the midst of going through the Hunter x Hunter manga exclusive content, so let me know if you want more videos on that in the future. But I'm not going to talk about it with any real clarity because although I do know a lot of what happens, I want to form my own opinions before I put anything out for my channel. It's really only taken as long as it has because I do prefer the anime. However, I'll leave you guys with this one last thought on Kurapika, relating the Kurta clan to my hypothesis that has been the slowest burn of them all. Sure, we have learned about the Kurta through the Phantom Troop, but the Kurta clan mysteries have ascended just the Phantom Troop at this point. And I hope, a certain prince with his artistic appetite will push Kurapika right to the edge, and we will see what he chooses from there. Although I believe the choice has already been made. Thank you to everyone who has made it this far in the video. I appreciate it more than you know. And I know we could cover more of Yorknu directly. I touched upon it, but as we all know, Yorknu is huge for Kurapika. The Uvogan fight could damn near be its own video, so I would really appreciate you guys letting me know what you would want to see next the most down in the comments, and have a great day. Thanks again. Peace.